for Arfield. 1-0 Burnley. Scott Arfield. He's been threatening that recently. And all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. Here's Rory now. On the outside. He's
got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly. Finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell. Saved by the keeper!
Burnley won it to the end! That is magnificent! They deserve that! Off for a hat-trick. He's got it. Hat-trick for Nathan Teller. Oh, he's on fire at the minute. 3-0 Burnley. It's Nathan Teller's day. And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby.
Here's Benson. Can he go on the outside? Comes inside.
Top shot. Oh, the goal. Manuel Benson once more. That is top class. Burnley have done it. Fantastic. Clarets deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello and welcome along to the latest instalment of the Turfcast podcast pre-game show with me, Joe Redmond, ahead of Sunday's trip to Villa Park as Burnley take on Aston Villa Sunday at 2 p.m, I think it is. I should really start checking these before I come on these shows. I'm pretty certain it's 2 p.m, to be fair. As usual, we've got a Villa fan waiting in the wings. We will bring in Luke in just a second, but obviously just some housekeeping and some breaking Turfcast news, by the way. We are pleased to announce that for the second year running, we have been named as a finalist at the North West Football Awards. This will take place in Manchester on Monday, the 3rd of November, I think it is. There it is. There's the graphic. This is the second year running we've been invited into this. There's nothing that you guys can do, really. At the Football Content Awards, I can sit here and beg you all to vote for us. This one is just done by a judging panel. And we are going to be up against the likes of Red Men TV, who have got hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers and won it last year, up against the United Stand, which is Mark Goldbridge's channel, so they're probably going to win it. And then City Extra as well. So you've got 3 massive channels in there. And then you've got the scarf that Bagara wore. I've probably pronounced that wrong. But it's a Stockport County podcast. I think that's their 3rd year running as well. So we're up against some really big channels. So it's going to be very difficult for us to win it. I'm just being realistic. But I'm just delighted that we are there. So that is just the breaking Turfcast news, and fingers crossed, at least I can have a free night. I say free, the beers aren't free, but the tickets are free. At least I can have a night out in Manchester when I go, which is, on, like I said, on the 3rd of November, Monday the 3rd of November. And also, I've just put a QR code in the top left-hand corner of your screen. That is the same QR code from the full-time show after our drubbing at Man City. If you scan that QR code, that will take you to a Just Giving page. That is to donate to me because I am doing the Manchester Half Marathon next week in aid of a brilliant charity, which is St Anne's Hospice. It's a hospice in the Greater Manchester area and beyond. And they obviously do a lot of palliative care and things like that and help families across Manchester and beyond in some very tough times. That is not this Sunday coming because obviously that's the Villa game. It's the Sunday after during the international break. We are currently just shy of 50% of our target, and our target is only a mere £300. So please, if you can, scan that QR code, help us along the way, and fingers crossed we can hit that target sooner rather than later so I can stop pestering you all with it. That's another thing. Just donate to it so I have to stop winding you all up and asking all the time, because if you just donate, then I'll stop asking more. But I'll leave that QR code on screen for the rest of the show so you can scan it if you want. And if you're not into that sort of technology and it all sounds a bit like alien to you because you're not really into the technological things these days, I will be putting a link in the description so you can just click that and it will take you to my donation page. Anyway, enough of that. We've nearly hit 5 minutes already and I haven't mentioned the game or what's happening this weekend pretty much enough. So I'm pleased to introduce, as always on these shows, we bring in a fan of the opposition club, and I am pleased to introduce Luke from the Up the Villa podcast. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Sounds like you're doing pretty good as well with everything you've got going on. So fair play to you.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Thank you. Like I said, I was there last year and Redmen TV won it. It was us there last year. There was us, the Scarf Bagara War, which is a Notts County podcast, BBC Radio Manchester, which I thought was bizarre, and a Wigan one. So I remember thinking last year, like, it's probably going to be Redmen, but you never know. Whereas this year, I'm up against like the Stockport County podcast. It's a similar size to us. That's been there 3 years now, so they're probably above the pecking order. Then you've got Mark Goldbridge's channel. I'm like, come on. Redmen TV have already won it, and City Extra have got like over 800k on Twitter alone. So I'm just happy to go and have a few beers. That's what I'm going to do, and maybe hit Manchester afterwards as well, but probably not because it's a Monday night. So yeah, we'll see. Anyway, let's get into Aston Villa, mate. Let's talk about your season so far, because it's not been the best start for Aston Villa, has it? All the way down in 16th. I say all the way. That's still 2 places above us. But for Aston Villa, it's not been a great start, has it? The quality, the standards that you've set for the last few seasons, that's not really where you want to be, is it? So what's happened? Talk to me about your season, your starts of the season, mate.
Yeah, it's probably all sort of started off the pitch, really. I mean, football these days, we all love it on the pitch, but off the pitch is just as important. And
yeah,
we've gone through a little bit of a tough time off it, really. We've had some sort of PSR issues, which we managed to sort out. And then we had something called SCR, which is UEFA's financial squad cost rules, which basically means that your wages have to be at a certain percentage, and Villa's wages. We use this model basically to sort of get into the Champions League and try and compete with the teams at the top with having really, really high wages. And it was in around 90% of our revenue to wage ratio. And we've had to lower it. So we've had to move players on. A lot of players sort of were linked with moves away, like Martinez, Jacob Ramsey left, Watkins and Rodgers. There was little rumours there. So it sort of just like transpired onto the pitch, really, which didn't create like a happy vibe. We started the season quite good against Newcastle, 0-0 draw, nothing to write home about, but a team that we sort of like been competing with. And then we lost to Brentford away, and we played all right, but you know, it's just not good for Villa to lose to Brentford. And then we lost to Palace in terrible fashion. And before that game, it came out that Emi Martinez was waiting to move to Manchester United. He wasn't in the team. And it was just like a bad vibe. And then we went into the final day of the window and we signed some players. And we've sort of gradually got better and better. Our performances have got better. So sort of off the field has sort of leaked into like on the pitch basically, but yeah, we seem to be getting a bit better now.
Yeah, just typical, isn't it? That you get the win against Bologna, was it, in the Europa League? And then you beat Fulham, and I didn't watch the game live against Fulham, I'll be honest with you, but on the highlight, you did look decent. It's just typical for Burnley, isn't it? That you start hitting your stride just before you players. But do you think now you are starting to get into that rhythm? Are you seeing the Villa of old again, the Villa of last season? Are you starting to feel pretty confident now you'll start pulling away? Not that you're ever in any danger, but pulling away up to the top half of the table where Villa expect to be?
Yeah, I think it's kind of just a bit of baby steps, really. We've, like you mentioned earlier, the last couple of years we've been absolutely phenomenal, and we were always probably due a little bit of a blip. Like we haven't really been able to bring in loads of players this summer, and we've probably needed to refresh it probably a bit more. But you know, we've signed this young player from Nice called Evan Guessoni, starting a lot of games. Harvey Elliott's in and out of the team. Sancho's in and out, and so yeah, I think Emery's he's building. You know, the way we play basically, he builds his structure. He wants possession, and all the stats around possession, we're very, very good. It's just getting it to click in the final third. And what we have been able to do over the last couple of seasons is blow teams away. And we kind of saw that at home against Fulham. We scored 2 goals in 2 minutes, took the game away from Fulham, and it was all over then. So, yeah, I think the performances are gradually getting better and better, and just need to be a little bit more consistent with the wins at home, really.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm glad you mentioned some of the incomings. I'm glad you pronounced his name Gresson, because I saw that and I butcher everything on here. Like, genuinely, sometimes I struggle with Smith. But obviously, you brought him in. You brought him in from Nice for around 30 million quid, according to the website I'm looking at. Obviously, I know I always take these with a pinch of salt. Harvey Elliott as well, Jadon Sancho. How are these getting on then? Because I'm looking at Harvey Elliott and Jadon Sancho especially, and thinking, wow, that's a risk. Like, so many clubs have tried it with him, it's not worked. I feel like personally he's a bit of a mercenary now and he's not really interested in the football. But how are the new signings getting on?
So Evan Guesson, he's playing every game, which is unlike Emery. It does take Emery a good few months to let these players adapt to his system. He's been quite critical of Harvey Elliott. He started against, I can't remember who he started. I think he started against Sunderland, and he said, like, he was moving the ball too quickly. He just weren't right with me tactically. And then he took him off at half time against Fulham and said, yeah, he's still not right. And he brought Buendia on. So Emery's really like strict on sort of players knowing his system, and Elliott's sort of not quite there yet. We are playing Feyenoord in the Europa League before we play you. So he might play in that game, and Emery might feel better about him. And then Sancho, he's ill at the minute. He's been ill since Sunday, so he's not playing against Feyenoord. Probably be back against you guys. But I actually felt like he was all right at Chelsea last year. You know, he played pretty decent. I mean, Emery loves a bit of a challenge, and he saw that challenge with Rashford, brought Rashford in, and he's now at Barcelona, and that's kind of down to what he did at Villa. You know, he was never going to go to Barcelona after what he was doing at Man United. So Emery was able to get him playing. So I think we're probably looking for something similar with Sancho, what Rashford did.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see Rashford doing well. Genuinely, I like Marcus Rashford. I think he got a hard time at Man United. He got a hard time off the press in this country. So it is good to see him shining at Barcelona. And I'm quite a fan of Barcelona. I love the club. I love the institution. It's more of an institution in it rather than a football club. I love the way they try and play football, the way they try and do things. So, yeah, I mean, fingers crossed for your sake, Sancho does it. I'd be surprised. I think Sancho's a bigger challenge, as you put it, than what Rashford was, so, yeah, we'll see how that gets on. You mentioned as well earlier Martinez. Tell me what happened with that then, because I do remember that Man United thing. And I remember at the time thinking, with all due respect to Villa, like, should I say with all due respect to Man United, like, why would you leave a club that feels like it's on the up? It may have plateaued a little bit and levelled up at where it should be, than a club that just seems to be getting worse and worse every single year. But that's obviously a different debate. What happened then? How did you guys end up keeping hold of him? Was it just all agent talk in the end?
Pretty much. I mean, in the summer, it was like he's going to Man United, and it came out from The Athletic that he'd been talking to Man United since January. So he cried on Villa's last home game of the season, and everyone was like, what's he crying for? And then you kind of knew that he was probably going to go, because Villa needed to sort of like manoeuvre a player, and he's one of Villa's highest earning players. So we all felt like he was going to go, heavily linked with Man United, and then it just went quiet. Nothing for about a month and a half, probably for like middle of July till about September. It was nothing. And then the day of the game that we were playing Crystal Palace, it just came out that he's in advanced talks with Man United, and it looks like he's going there. And I was just a bit like, I don't know whether they're just using him because they were in talks with that Sene Lamens. And then on deadline day, The Athletic put out as well saying that he was just waiting by his phone at Bodymore Heath, waiting for Man United to give him the go-ahead. So, and it never happened. And then it's just like, you know, I think as a fan, you know, it's not nice knowing that a player wants to leave your club, is it? You know, it's probably like one of the worst things that can happen. And, you know, for a player that has joined from Arsenal, and we made him a first teamer, got him in the Argentinian squad. He won the World Cup. He played Champions League football with Villa. It just felt a little bit disrespectful, but he's here now. So he's going to obviously get his head down and just try and get, stay fit for the World Cup squad in the summer, really. So, yeah, it was just a bit of a mess. And it just, like I was talking about earlier, it's just not good for the squad, is it? That just unsettling. And yeah, it probably showed that the squad was just a bit split, I think, at the start of the season.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the start of the season there again, and obviously I've mentioned it as well. Just the one win for Villa so far. Unfortunately for Burnley, it did come in your last Premier League game. Have your aims for the season changed? Because I would imagine, having fallen short last season of the Champions League places, you would have wanted to get back in them. That would have been your aim for the start of the season. Is that still your aim as a fan base, or have you sort of like taken stock a little bit and gone, right, well, we've had a bit of a poor start. Maybe let's sort of like reevaluate and try and get Europa League, or are you still aiming for the top 5, whatever it is this season, 4 5?
For me, it's probably more like Europe. I think the last 3 seasons we've got Europe, and I think we need to maintain as a club in Europe. I think financially it's massive. It brings in decent revenue. Even the Europa League brings in decent revenue. So I think the fact that this season, the best we could probably try and hope for is maybe 5th, which is probably going to be Champions League again. But then you've sort of got that added aspect of, if you win the Europa League, you'll get Champions League as well. So yeah. I think just Europe is just the priority for me. Whether it's Europa League, I think that's probably my aim again, really. I think we do need to recruit, and I think we need to probably just refresh the squad a bit more. So I think it'd be quite unrealistic to go, we want Champions League, because it's so difficult to get. I mean, last season we missed out on Champions League on goal difference. So, it's a bit of a killer blow, really. But Europe in some form.
What are your thoughts on the Europa League then itself? Because I'm just quickly looking at the odds now, and you are the favourites across the board, really. You've got yourselves, then Roma, then Porto, then Forest, then Betis, Lyon, Bologna, who you've already beaten. That game wasn't the best. I did watch that one. It was in fact, I turned it off, I think, in the second half. It weren't the best game. Obviously, you wouldn't care. You got the win. So are you looking at that and thinking maybe not concentrate more on the Europa League, but hope that you can have a good run in the Europa League, get quite far and then win it, and then, like you said, get to the Champions League that way?
Well, Emery's priority, he always says it's the Premier League. So I got to believe him that Premier League is the priority. So, but Europa League is probably our second priority. I do look at it, and I do think that we should go quite far. I mean, if I had to say where I think we could get, I think at least semi-finals. I think we got to the semi-finals of the Conference League, quarterfinals of the Champions League. Use your experiences from last season. You mentioned some of the teams that they're decent, but they're not huge teams like what you were facing in the Champions League. So Emery's won this competition 4 times as well. So this is his sort of bread and butter, really. He's used to winning it. So I think we've just got to try and take it. It's old cliche, but like game by game, and just see where we are. Get out the group phase and just attack the knockouts in like February.
Yeah, well, good luck in it. I always, unless it's Blackburn, of course, not that they're anywhere near Europe, but I always want to see the English clubs do well in Europe. So good luck in that. And I will be watching tonight as well. And that brings me on nicely to the next point. You are playing tonight. Obviously, we are recording this on Thursday. So those of you that are listening to this on Friday, this will be a little bit out of date, but I do want to mention it. As a Burnley fan, coming up against a huge club in Aston Villa, who on paper have a far better squad than us, I'm looking for little tiny breadcrumbs of why we might be able to get a result. And the fact that you're playing tonight in the Netherlands, Feyenoord, isn't it, tonight? I'm thinking, maybe they're going to be tired. Don't get me wrong, I would have preferred you were playing somewhere in Azerbaijan rather than just a quick 45-minute flight over to the Netherlands. But what are your thoughts ahead of Sunday? Is this sort of thing that can affect Villa, or is your squad big enough and does Emery rotate enough to be able to attack both games, really, if you will?
It can affect the team, but I think we've got enough experience now for it not to. I mean, I'd never use it as an excuse, because we did it in the Europa Conference League and we were pretty good at winning games after that. And that's the season that we qualified for the Champions League. So, and that was Thursday, Sunday. Champions League, we weren't very good after a European night, but I mean, Champions League nights are just next level. Like, they're so draining. I mean, for a fan, that they were the most draining thing ever, because you just pump yourself up for the game, and it's so intense. When we were playing like Bayern Munich, Juventus, and you get to the Sunday and you're like, I can't be arsed. Like, and it's just a come down. Do you know what I mean? And it was a come down. But I think for Europa League, I think we should be all right. We have got a big squad. We've got quite a few injuries in central midfield, but yeah, I wouldn't use it as an excuse, to be honest.
Yeah, with all due respect to some clubs in the Premier League, and you could probably put Burnley in that bracket, to be fair. When you're playing Bayern Munich on a Wednesday, you're not going to get up for Wolves at home. Well, it's different. I suppose Wolves are different for you because it's kind of got that Midlands needle to it. But sort of like Brentford at home on a Sunday. Even when we played the likes of Aberdeen, when we were playing, I don't know, Southampton on the Sunday, I was like, I've just been to Aberdeen and experienced that. So I bet it's times 10 for games against the likes of Bayern Munich. And by the way, thank you for beating Bayern Munich, because obviously that was Vincent Kompany's first Champions League game. Not that I have anything against Vincent. I just, at the time, was still slightly bitter. I didn't want you to win that match. Moving on to the weekend then. What's your kind of style of play at the minute then? Has Emery changed anything, or how are you expecting Villa to set up in terms of sort of like the way you're going to attack the game?
Yeah, it's very possession based. So everything about us is keeping all the possession, recycling possession, waiting for the right moments to attack. Our front line this season has been, at the start, has been quite poor. Rodgers has been very poor. Watkins was struggling. We were struggling for like synergy and sort of like cohesion. The last couple of games, we started to find our feet a little bit. So I imagine that's how Villa are going to set up to play. You do have sort of like a little bit of our Achilles heel sort of on transition. I think that's something that we are sometimes left wanting at times. We get caught, and you know, look, Anthony for you, he's somebody that I'd look at and go, he's probably going to be a big threat. Foster played really well 2 years ago at Villa Park.
That's one of his only good games, mate. We always mention that game at Villa Park. That's one of his only good games in a Burnley shirt.
But yeah, I remember him. I think he's good. I think the midfield battle is probably going to be key. And yeah, just I think that's probably how we're averaging around 57% possession, so I probably wouldn't expect that to change too much. So yeah, it's just whether you can probably pick your moments and take advantage of us maybe sort of getting caught, etc. So that's probably how I'd see the game going.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, because that is how we scored against Man City at the weekend. All right, we won't mention the amount of goals that they scored, but that's how we mentioned it. We pressed them, got the ball out wide, got it in. Jadon Anthony, as you said there, slotted it into the bottom corner. And we are quite good at counter-attacks this season. I think that tends to be the way that we're going, not sitting back and just two banks of four like we did against Daesh. All right, we did do that against Liverpool, but still then we try and get the ball forward quickly to hit teams on the counter-attack through the pace of Jadon Anthony, through the pace of Lyle Foster. And that's why he played so well at Villa Park a couple of seasons ago, because you did that season, I'm not sure if you will this season, defend quite high against our pace, because Lyle Foster, even if he has had a lot of question marks surrounding him through on the pitch and off the pitch stuff, one thing he does have is bags and bags of pace. And that's why he struggles in the Championship, because teams tend to sit back against us. But in the Premier League, teams tend to step onto us and then leave a lot of space in behind. And that's something that the likes of Lyle Foster can use, excuse me, the same with Jadon Anthony, and same with Liam Tuna as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how you cope with that. How are you at coping with counter-attacking teams? Do you still defend with a quite high line, or have you stepped off a little bit this season?
We haven't been. The line's been a little bit deeper, but we've brought the high line back a little bit. So you might be licking your lips with that, to be honest. But we are better when we've got that high line, in my opinion. I think because we do play teams offside quite well. That Bologna game, we played them offside 9 times, which is quite high, really. So I think we're better when we do it, because we just close the distance between our attack and our defence, basically. So, yeah, it is back, but sometimes he doesn't play and he might do something a bit different. But I think against you guys, he probably will keep it a little bit higher.
Yeah, I know you've mentioned already the likes of Lyle Foster, the likes of Jadon Anthony. Is there any other Burnley players that you're looking at that you're a little bit worried about facing this weekend?
I do like Ugachukwu. He's the guy from Chelsea that went to Southampton last year, and I was looking at him last year at Southampton. And I thought, oh, he's gonna be one of them players that just really stand out. And I think he had a couple of injuries, and Southampton were terrible. But he's a player that I think he's actually quite good. So I do like him. So yeah, him. I do like the player that you had last. Is it Amdouni? He's got an ACL, has he?
Yeah, he's not playing. Yeah,
I really liked him when you were in the Premier League last time. But yeah, you striker, Anthony, he's a big threat. So yeah, I'd probably say those three.
Yeah, it's good to hear an opposition fan name Jadon Anthony because there's just something about him. I'm not sure what it is. He doesn't seem to get the recognition of a lot of Burnley fans, and I have no idea why. I think the only player that scored more goals than him in the Premier League this season is Erling Haaland. Jadon Anthony scored 4 goals this season. Haaland scored 8, but Haaland's a freak. Everyone knows that. So it's good to see him getting the recognition. You mentioned Ugachukwu. Probably butchered it, as I'm sure you did as well. We just call him Big Les because I don't want to try and pronounce that last name. But obviously he got sent off against Liverpool. And then we did bring in Florentino Luis from Benfica, and he's been sensational. So I would suspect that Ugachukwu might even be on the bench. I think it might be Josh Cullen and Florentino in the middle. You mentioned earlier you've got some injuries. You specifically named midfielders. Any big players that are missing ahead of this weekend?
Tielemans. So he's out for Feyenoord. I don't know whether he's gonna just miraculously appear on Sunday. Emery does that sometimes when they just appear out of nowhere. So he's a doubt. Onana's been out. Who else? Barkley, Garcia's a right back. Tyrone Mings will be out. So it'll definitely be Pau Torres. So those are our current injuries. Some more to central midfield, really.
Yeah, we'll see. Obviously, this is the opposite side of your point of view, but I do like the fact that you've got some missing in the middle because I do feel like, obviously, I say this a lot, and it's an obvious thing to say, but a lot of football games are won and lost in the middle. And I feel like recently, with the introduction of the likes of Louise, Josh Cullen having a good season, Ugachukwu ready to go, I think if we can win that midfield battle, we can then really kick on and hopefully get a result. It's going to be difficult, obviously, going to Villa Park. It's been a while since we got a result there. Obviously, last time out was a great game. I think it finished 3-2 to you with a ridiculous last-minute penalty. Definitely not over it. But we're used to that now, mate. We're used to these last-minute penalties. I don't know if you saw the one against Man United and the one against Liverpool. So what would a third one be already in this season? In what is it, the 6th or 7th game? But yeah, are you expecting a similar sort of game, or are you expecting Villa to just step on and kill Burnley?
I mean, I am expecting us to win. That's just because I'm a Villa fan and we're at home. But yeah, I just think we've just got to sort of keep the momentum of our season going, really. And that's basically it, really. It's no disrespect to Burnley. It's just my expectation of what Villa should be doing at home. So, yeah,
that's fair enough. Predictions, then, mate. If you want to give me a score prediction,
I got 2-1. I reckon you'll score. We do concede, so we do concede, but we were pretty decent against Fulham. So hopefully Villa can carry on, really.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go for 1-1. I'm hoping that your Thursday night game, all that distance away in the Netherlands, is going to really tire you out. Honestly, I come into these chats sometimes, be like, "Oh, we've got to play Villa at weekend. We've got to play this team at the weekend. We're going to get spanked." Then I listen to the opposition fan. I'm like, "Hold on, we might have a chance here." But you've mentioned the fact that on transition you sometimes struggle with it. I am obviously aware that sometimes you do play that high line, and I think that's something that we can sort of like try and exploit. And then you've mentioned the injuries in midfield as well, and I'm just hoping that this can be one of them games that Florentino Luis, by the way. He's just superb. Like, we were awful against City, I'm not going to lie, but he was just superb in the middle. He's been superb every time I've seen him. I genuinely believe he is the best signing that a promoted club has made this season. A lot of people will argue Granit Xhaka, but I think Florentino Luis is superb and he's shown it so far. So I'm going to go 1-1 for me, but yeah, and I know it's going to be difficult. Villa Park's a very, very, very tough place to go, especially when it's a full house, which it always is these days. I'm just hoping that obviously the Thursday night game might derail you guys slightly, because I would presume that you'll have Friday off from training, or a very, very light session, maybe in on Saturday to do some tactics and things like that, and then straight into another game, whereas we had a full week to focus on it. But Luke, we'll wrap it up there. Obviously, I know you've got a game to get to soon, or to do content on later on in the day, so we will wrap it up there. But before we wrap it up fully, do you want to let everyone know where they can find you and your content if they want to digest some of your stuff, mate?
Yeah, on YouTube. So we'll be doing fan cams after the game. So Burnley fans, you might see us crying, or you might not want to watch us being happy. Yeah. So there's something for you to go and feast your eyes upon on Sunday, maybe. So yeah, just up the Villa on YouTube.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a channel I fully recommend as well. I know I do say that a lot, but I sat next to Luke, sat with Luke on the overlap once. He's a great guy, does some great stuff, and I really do enjoy the content that Luke provides. Just before we wrap it up, just remind everybody, scan the QR code in the corner, donate to my charity run, the half marathon, which is in, it says 2 weeks on the bottom banner, just because I haven't been asked to update it. It's in 1 week and 3 days, not the Sunday coming, the Sunday after. So we need to hit that £300 target. We're currently on £135. But thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening. And we will see you for the full-time show, hopefully after a win at Villa Park. Cheers.